Hello, good evening. Welcome to a special edition of Look North. Tonight we're live in Doncaster as the new city prepares to say goodbye to its airport. It's 17 years since the first passenger flight took off from the former RAF base. Tonight, the last one will land here in around 3 hours' time.
Everyone's downbeat and it's a subject on everyone's lips. What's happening? What's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to our businesses?
The tourist staff are gutted.
Some of the ladies were crying, weren't they?
The local mayor says it's not over yet. A bigger offer is on the table. She's live with the latest. We'll also look at what this airport means for people in this part of the world.
And after a lovely day today, it means it will be clear for any firework displays this evening. But what about the weekend? I'll be back later in the programme with your full updated forecast.
Hello, good evening. Well, it's a day that many in this part of the world hoped would never come. But tonight, at around 9 o'clock, the last flight will land here at Doncaster Sheffield Airport, marking the end of a 17-year history of commercial air travel from this site. Gosh, it's been a turbulent summer since the Peel Group, who own the airport, announced that the site was no longer financially viable. Now, there have been questions and bitter exchanges in Parliament. There have been offers from buyers, demonstrations, petitions, and the start of a legal battle. And of course, promises from one very short-lived Prime Minister. But in September, after what it described as a strategic review, Peel said the airport would close at the start of November. That day is now here. Spencer Stokes reports.
The end of aviation activity at Doncaster Sheffield Airport. Staff and passengers walking away, knowing they may never return.
It was quite emotional on the plane on the way back because the crew were saying how sad they feel. Some's moving on to different things. They're gutted.
Yeah,
the tourist staff are gutted.
Some of the ladies were crying, weren't they?
I actually think it's disgusting. This is the best airport in this area.
I mean, this has just been fantastic for us over the years. Such a sad time. Get a bit emotional.
An 800-acre site with a long history. It was an RAF base before opening as an airport in 2005. The original name, Robin Hood, raised eyebrows, and a launch stunt fell distinctly flat. That branding was designed to appeal to the American market, but transatlantic flights weren't consistent year to year. Low-cost carriers came and went. The facilities, though, won numerous awards, and the council invested in a link road. The airport also helped create 800 jobs on site and nearly 3,000 in the wider economy.
Normally on a Friday night, we'd have a flight crew in here.
Up until this week, the Crown Hotel at Bawtry let 30% of its rooms to TUI staff.
It's about the worst thing that has happened in the last 20 years since the day we bought the Crown Hotel. You know, we built everything up around this, but you can feel it in the mood in the town. You walk in the bars and the restaurants, and everyone's downbeat, and it's a subject on everyone's lips. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. It's devastating.
The original aim was to get at least 2 million passengers, but numbers rose slowly from 900,000 in 2006 to just 1.4 million in 2019. 17 years on, there are significantly fewer airlines with the potential to serve Doncaster's core market. And the business has to compete with very well-established airport capacity in the Midlands and North. This expert says building it was always a gamble.
I accept the regeneration argument, but it wasn't needed in market terms then, and I still don't think it's strictly needed now. The economy in the north of England hasn't grown substantially. The total air traffic market across the north of England hasn't grown very much since 2009-10. And the growth that has taken place has largely gone into Manchester.
There'll be no flights after today, but owners Peel Group say the airport won't formally close until the end of the month. That suggests there remains the remote possibility of a deal.
We need to make sure it's mothballed, not ripped up or anything sort of critically undermined there. Of course, it becomes even harder to reboot something and to start again. But as long as that infrastructure is there, there is hope the airport can be rebooted, whether that's in a week's time, a month's time, a year's time or 10 years' time.
Tonight, Doncaster Council say an improved offer to buy the airport has been made by an international conglomerate. But the track record of closed airports reopening is not a good one. In the short term at least, the lights are finally going out at Doncaster Sheffield. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North.
So that's where we are tonight. To join me now is Ros Jones, the Mayor of Doncaster. Ros, what is the situation right now?
Well, Doncaster Council reached formal legal agreement, so Peel do not formally close the airport till the end of November. We've also submitted for a judicial review on the way DSA have handled this.
Now, today you said that there was a substantial higher offer on the table from what had been offered earlier in the week. What can you tell us about that?
An international consortium have actually increased their offer. It was a substantial offer before. That has been turned down and they have now increased it substantially again. And therefore we urge Peel, John Whittaker and his board to seriously consider this and actually sit down and do due diligence the way normal business takes place.
Well, on Wednesday, that's the last time we heard from Peel, they said that they can confirm they're currently not in possession of what could be considered a credible offer. You're saying that this is a credible offer?
I'm saying this is a credible increased offer from an international consortium.
Can you tell us any more about how much they've offered? Can you tell us any more about who's offered the money?
That is commercially sensitive, of course, but what I can say to you is this. Peel have received this offer and I'm urging them to go into formal due diligence to actually save our airport. And because this company or this conglomerate have actually put in a further offer, they believe in the airport, they see its future, and that's why I'm asking them to save the jewel in the crown and all these thousands of jobs that go with it.
Ros, you were in the airport talking to staff earlier. What were you saying to them?
They are so emotional and they're saying keep fighting for us. I've told them what we've done and said we will use every legal tool in our toolbox in order to seek to keep it open.
We've just heard the longer this goes on, the less realistic it is that it will reopen, an agreement will be made. What do you think is going to happen?
I hope that they see sense and see a fantastic offer that's on the table and they sit down and talk it through.
Ros Jones, thank you so much for your time. Well, as I did just talk about there, we have heard from Peel Group, but not since Wednesday. We did ask them if they wanted to join us on the programme tonight. Instead, they gave us a statement. They said, we can confirm that we're currently not in possession of what could be considered a credible offer. We are continuing to engage with all interested parties that we've been introduced to by Doncaster Council. Now, we do know that this airport is popular. It was voted the best in the country for several years running by the Which magazine, but the argument over its future has always been based on numbers. You can hear over there the staff are chanting, saying keep the airport open. This has always been about numbers, this closure, both passenger numbers and cash. David Rhodes has been crunching the figures. Here's what he found out.
At its peak, 1.4 million passengers a year pass through Doncaster Sheffield Airport. That may sound like a lot, but South Yorkshire's airport has a very small share of the aviation market in Northern England. Last year, 60% of the region's passengers flew from Manchester, 7% from Leeds Bradford, just 3% from Doncaster Sheffield. And these figures have not changed much in the past decade. And this has been the airport's biggest problem. It's always been overshadowed by bigger airports in the north. The airport's accounts show that in 6 of the last 10 years, it has turned a gross profit on its core business activity. However, those gross profits were primarily made before 2016. That core activity is getting passengers through the terminal and onto planes, and that's why some politicians say the airport could have a viable future. However, when you factor in taxes and administrative expenses the company has paid, Doncaster Sheffield has always made a net loss, represented by the red bars. That is why Peel say the airport is not financially viable. It's estimated that Doncaster Sheffield contributes £100 million to the wider economy of South Yorkshire each year, but the county's economy is worth in total £32 billion a year. The closure of the airport is a blow for those who work there, and it is an inconvenience for those who want to fly from the airport, but it's a loss of 0.03% to the wider economy. Therefore, the closure of the airport is not going to be a big hit to South Yorkshire's wider economy.
So those are the numbers. I'm joined now by Labour Mayor of South Yorkshire, Oliver Coppard, and Conservative MP for Don Valley, Nick Fletcher, both from different parties, but agree you want to save the airports. Oliver Coppard, to you first. We've just heard there that the airport contributes 0.03% to the local economy. Is it worth saving?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it's worth saving. Look, this isn't just about the economic impact measured in that way. This is also about what this means for our region. This is about our ambitions for South Yorkshire and the type of economy that we want to be. This is an important part of our economic future, not just the airport itself, but the land surrounding it. And this whole development rests on the airport. So yeah, it's incredibly important in a number of ways.
So you're willing to put £7 million of public money on the table to bridge the gap till an offer possibly comes available. Is that justified money?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it was up to £7 million to keep the airport open whilst a deal could be done to keep the airport open using private sector money. It was an important thing for us to do. I think we did the right thing. The offer is still on the table and we want people to take it.
Nick Fletcher, you called on your government to step in to try and help. Are you disappointed?
No, I'm not disappointed at all. I mean, we have a devolved combined authority, and economic growth and transport sit with the mayor. Having said that, the government do have a part to play, and using the influence of their officers, then that's what they should do.
But they haven't done that, have they? And we're at the day where the airport is closing. Liz Truss, under her government, said she wanted to save it. It didn't happen.
Well, as I say, she can only use the influence of their offer. I've said it many times, we don't live in a dictatorship. They can't walk in and take things. The powers have been devolved, and the money and the power sits with the combined authority. Now, they've had 13 meetings. They have been in touch with the aviation minister again today, and they are using their influence where they can and pressing Peel to do the right thing.
What does this say for the government's agenda for levelling up the airport? Is closing tonight, and we've just heard that Rishi Sunak's government is not committing to a station at Bradford for Northern Powerhouse Rail.
Well, the airport is not actually closing tonight. It's the last passenger flights that are coming in tonight, and as Oliver has said, that there's negotiations are taking place at this moment, and we're both hopeful that they will continue and hopefully they'll be fruitful.
But the 2019 manifesto, levelling up was very high on the agenda. Is your government still committing to that? Because at the moment it feels like they're not.
Yeah, I do believe they are committing to that. I mean, we've had a global pandemic, and we've spent £450 billion that they didn't expect to have to spend. So, I mean, I do think we need to cut them a little bit of slack, but I'll be banging the drum for Doncaster, and I'm sure Oliver will be banging it for the combined authority.
Very briefly from both of you, what next?
Well, look, we're waiting to hear back from Peel about the negotiations that are taking place. There's been an improved offer put on the table from the investors that we brought to Peel's door. We're waiting to hear from Peel whether they accept it. I want them to, Nick wants them to. I hope we're going to hear some good news.
Oliver Coppard, Nick Fletcher, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
OK, let's get back to the airport in a moment, though. But first, some news away from here. The government has confirmed there'll be no new station in Bradford as part of the Northern Powerhouse Rail. Previous Prime Minister Liz Truss had promised that it would be in part of her election campaign. But today, Rishi Sunak's spokesperson told us his government will not be sticking to any commitments made by the previous government. We're expecting to hear more detail on any improvements on the line very soon. The Arts Council has unveiled plans to spend £380 million in the north of England over the next 3 years. The Hepworth Gallery in Wakefield is to get £900,000. Other beneficiaries include the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, Grimm & Co in Rotherham and Cast in Doncaster. A new photographic exhibition at Leeds Station aims to highlight the lives of people affected by motor neurone disease. Fronted by the former rugby league player Rob Burrow, it features portraits of 7 people who either have MND or have lost loved ones to it. It's part of a fundraising campaign to build a state-of-the-art centre for MND patients and their families in Leeds.
This exhibition is really important to showcase the impact of MND on 7 individuals and families. It shows how MND doesn't just affect the person diagnosed, it affects the whole family. People in Leeds will stop and read these real life stories, and that will continue to raise awareness of the disease.
Well, with Bonfire Night literally tomorrow, Sheffield Wednesday community programme are getting kids off the streets. The sessions are called Football Over Fireworks, and it's all to help bring down antisocial behaviour in the area. Sanchez Payne has been there this evening. Here he is.
We are here at the Concord Sports Centre in Sheffield. Around Bonfire Night, for the past 7 years, this project has ran football over fireworks to encourage young people to be safe around this time. We have Coach Aaron here. Tell us a little bit about what's going on tonight.
Just trying to keep kids off the street, really. Keep them away from getting into trouble, doing some antisocial behaviour.
And why is it important that there's somewhere for these young kids to come to?
I feel it's important to have a safe space around the area, especially a busy time it is. A lot of incidents can be happening with the police, just trying to get them away from that and keep them active with football.
And we know that that's the case. There is a connection between Bonfire Night fireworks and antisocial behaviour.
At this time of year, we definitely see an increase in antisocial behaviour linked to fireworks and the dark nights period for us. So anything like this that we can divert kids into is a really good opportunity for us to engage with them and then to steer away from any antisocial behaviour.
And how does this help? How do events like these help these young people and help you as well?
It's a safe place for the kids to come to where they can come and have fun, they can bring their friends. It's a good place for us to come and talk to the kids.
The young people that come here, we'd love to know, what makes you want to be here on a night like this?
It's just a chance to come out with my mates, have a kick about, and we see a lot of the things that happen and we just want to stay away from it. We've had a lot of sessions with the police officers in the past and it's a good chance to come down here, keep away from it all and just play football.
And why do you enjoy being here?
It's just something to do after school, like we have a long day at school and then you just come straight here.
And that's great to hear. Football over fireworks here in Sheffield at the Concord Sports Centre, making sure young people are a little bit safer this bonfire night. Sanchez Payne, BBC Look North.
Well, back to the airport now. 17 years ago, this site opened as a commercial airport. It was a former RAF base and it opened up new opportunities for an area that had been really hit by the pit closures. Just around the corner, there's an iPort, and that is lots of warehouses, if you like, in a park with companies such as Amazon and Lidl working from there. There's also the Yorkshire Wildlife Park just around the corner. It's a world-class centre for animal conservation. In fact, they've flown many of their animals into this airport over the years, and it's a huge tourist attraction. Heidi Tomlinson reports.
A passenger's view of that exhilarating moment, hurtling down a runway, feeling the jet engines lift, another smooth takeoff. This one filmed at Doncaster Sheffield Airport by Joshua Brown, who was obsessed with aviation as a boy. Landing a job there as an airfield safety officer was a dream come true.
Staff have turned up every day since they announced the airport was closing and just carried on doing the job to the level and, you know, being professional and thinking about the customers.
9 out of the 10 hotels are confirmed.
Some of those customers would book holidays through local travel agent Kath Doyle. She lives 5 minutes from the airport.
Third largest runway in the country.
We took a drive around the perimeter to see how the area's changed.
To the left, that's the main road into the airport.
Hotels, houses and businesses line the streets near the terminal building.
The premise was that if they improved the infrastructure, they would get all the major airlines wanting to come in and use the airport.
And it worked for a while. But now owners, the Peel Group, claim it's no longer financially viable.
It's brought jobs and hope to all the area, and so much so that it gave a real boost for Doncaster's application to be a city.
City status may not have been feasible 27 years ago, when a group of local MPs, including Caroline Flint, saw the potential in the old RAF base at Finningley.
We took the RAF site, which had pristine infrastructure on it. I think at the time one of the longest runways in the UK. So it was perfect in terms of reimagining it as a civilian airport. It was a hook to so many things, improving the amount of jobs, the diversity of jobs. I mean, the link road wouldn't have happened without the airport. And when that finally opened, I was absolutely struck by the fact of how many people, if I was in the supermarket or was just out and about, would spontaneously come up to me and say, "My God, Caroline, that link road's brilliant."
Away from journey times and job prospects, working at the airport brought a feeling of pride. For Josh and his colleagues, saying goodbye will be a wrench.
It's gave me like lifelong friends. So just the thought of not seeing them on a daily basis because we're all having to potentially go our own separate ways. Heartbroken. just devastated that it's come to this.
Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Doncaster.
You know, even tonight we saw lots of staff members outside and inside the airport having group photos, selfies. It means so much to many people in this area, as we've just heard. I'm joined now by Bex Wyman, a member of the Green Party, and also Mark Chadwick. He set up a Save Our Airport campaign on Facebook. It's now got 15,000 members. Chris, we were just hearing how much it means to people in the local area. What does this closure mean?
It's 800 jobs. The economy's a lot of money out of the economy, £110 million a year, gross value added by the airport. But it's your gateway to the world, isn't it? People's holidays. It's not just holidays, though, there's other stuff based here. But people are really, really upset about what's happening. They feel let down by Peel. Peel have really upset a lot of people. Obviously, the staff are really upset about it. But people have started arguing, they're bickering on the group a little bit. They're not trusting people. And it's all down to what's happened at the moment. You get an answer, 1 minute they've got an offer, next minute they haven't got an offer. And the confusion and everything is causing a lot of upset, and people are really, really angry about what's happening.
Bex Wyman, you stood for South Yorkshire Mayor for the Green Party. Where do you stand on the airport?
I mean, as far as how I stand on this, you can tell, like, you can feel the palpable melancholy and sadness that is around. But the way that we view this as a Green Party is that actually it's a good thing that it's closing. I think that what it will do is allow us to have the conversations that we need to have about the climate. And not only that...
People aren't stop flying, are they? We know that people are just going to go to other local airports and fly from there instead. It's not really going to change anything in terms of passenger numbers.
No, and as far as the flights are concerned, I would hope that then more of those flights are going and that are fuller rather than actually flying where there are empty seats in those flights. But actually what we could do here is that it's a real opportunity to create green infrastructure and green jobs. So the 800 people that are losing their jobs here, Dan Fells at the Doncaster Chamber of Commerce has got a real opportunity to invest in these people for the planet and for the climate.
Mark, I can tell you're dying to come in here. Go for it.
It's cheaper to fly aeroplanes from here. There's not as much queuing for the aeroplanes. They use less fuel because of the longer runway. The aeroplanes are full.
This is a former pit area, Mark. How devastating is this closure for the area?
Extremely devastating. 15,700 people have joined the group in 3 months. The petition reached, I think there's 3 petitions in total, 127,000 signatures, all sent to government asking for help. Just waiting for help from them.
Bex Wyman, very briefly, the government has said that aviation only causes 7% of our carbon greenhouse emissions, so they're not necessarily saying that closing local airports is the answer.
No, it's investment in our public services and getting the bus services running. And, the Better Buses campaign are crying out for more investment into where it matters and actually getting people to jobs at the moment. So, I don't think it's even measured accurately because nobody takes actual responsibility for those carbon emissions. So people need to take responsibility for these and actually invest where it matters to get people to the jobs that they need.
Time up, I'm afraid. Bex Wyman, thank you. Mark Chadwick as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm joined now by our reporter, Tom Ingle. Tom, you were here the day the first commercial flight left this airport, and you are here today for the day the final flight lands.
I've covered this story for much longer than that. One of the very first jobs I did for Look North was the petition going to Doncaster Council to get this airport set up. And we've been here every step of the way. But still, 17 years in just 90 seconds, how do we sum it up? I think you look at that building and say it was built to expand, but the numbers, forgive the pun, never took off. However, even if the economics of the airport didn't stack up, when I first covered this story, I'd go to Orkley, and no disrespect to Orkley, it was very much a one-horse town, and the horse had just packed up and left, and that was the RAF and the Finningley Air Base. Now Orkley is thriving with new houses, new businesses, the front door to the Yorkshire Wildlife Park. That may not be directly because of the economics of the airport, but it's definitely the confidence of the airport. Let's just think of something else, though. This airport has survived through 7 Prime Ministers and 12 Secretaries of State for Transport. And in all that time, you've got to think about not just this airport, but where does regional aviation fit in? What's the policy? Do we want people flying locally? Do we want them all to go down to London? This airport is also home to the Vulcan to the Sky Trust. It's home to some services from the National Air Police Support Service. So there's a huge amount of activity on this site, and still, again, forgive the pun, the future is very much up in the air.
It absolutely is. Tom, thank you so much for your time. We're going to go now to Keely with the latest forecast. Keely, certainly bitter down here in South Yorkshire tonight.
Absolutely, Amy, but you look nice and wrapped up. And it was a chilly start today. Let's have a look at some of the photographs because we've captured some frost. You can just about make it out on the grass in the shadows there near Wakefield. It actually dropped back to freezing point at Topcliffe down the Vale of York. Another early morning picture taken here in Sheffield at sunrise. And the third picture, some sunshine at Bottoms Mill in Holmfirth, because it did turn out for most places to be a really quite a pleasant day, just a few afternoon showers. You can keep your pictures coming in to the Weather Watchers page. You can tweet me or I'm on Instagram at keely.donovan. So the sunshine today will be replaced by more cloud through tomorrow. So there'll be a lot of cloud in the forecast for tomorrow. There'll be some patchy rain and drizzle at times moving in from the west. It won't be raining all day long, but it will continue to move in from the west at times. And then Sunday also looks unsettled. Sunshine and showers, but those showers could merge into longer spells of rain. It looks unsettled as we head into the early part of next week, but it does look like it's going to get milder once again. This is the satellite picture from early. We had a few showers over the hills. Otherwise, we had lovely gin clear skies. And you can see all this cloud out to the west. That's going to make its way further east. That will bring much cloudy conditions through the day tomorrow. So still the odd shower in the west, but generally it looks like a dry and a fine night with clear spells. A little bit more cloud, I think, developing later on in the night ahead of a very cloudy day to come tomorrow. And temperatures falling back to 3 or 4 degrees. Let's have a quick look at those high water times then. At 1:22 in Scarborough and at 1:10 in Whitby. So tomorrow a cloudy day to come with areas of rain and drizzle moving in from the west on and off through the course of the day. I'm hoping for any firework displays tomorrow evening that we will start to see some clear skies spreading in from the west into tomorrow evening, and it'll dry up as well. Temperatures like today will get up to 12 degrees, which is 54 Fahrenheit, and these temperatures are about average for the time of year, even though it does feel chilly out there at the moment. On Sunday, showers merging into longer spells of rain through the afternoon, becoming unsettled next week. Amy.
Keely, thank you. Well, that's it. It's the end of an era. Staff have been gathering here tonight to say their final farewells. The last flight is due to land here in less than 2 hours' time. What happens next? Who knows? As Tom Ingalls says, it's up in the air. Good night.